So anyway, welcome to the prison wall. We're in Ray's apartment where they're doing work on. It's unfortunate. I just saw the sign on the way in today, and it's like they're really only working on, I guess, like one suite in this building, but it happens to be like right under you, like the floor right under you.
Yeah.
So if you hear vague drilling sounds, so Prison Wallets, we're the first and only podcast where two random guys talk about movies. I'm pretty sure we came up with this idea. So for this run, we've mostly been watching movies that I have not seen before, but I wanted to jump into old Killer Clowns for this week because I haven't seen this movie in forever. So it's almost like seeing it for the first time because it's been like 20 damn years. But I always remember liking this movie, and I got a weird way to tie it into Terrifier. So we got to watch it before we watch Terrifier 3. But I'll tell you about that nonsense in a second. But what are your memories of Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
Quite honestly, I don't know if I've ever watched it all the way through. I've started it several times, but, fell asleep, had something else to do, whatever, and just never went back to it kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen the ending of this movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. The only things that I really remember were that I really liked the clown designs, even though they're quite cartoonish, and that the Kyoto brothers are the guys that did all of the like special effects for it, like the clown makeup and costumes and all that shit.
Right. So if I remember right, the Kyoto brothers, did they do Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
I think they did.
Yeah, because it's very similar to that style. And I mean, Large Marge is like legitimately the scariest thing I ever saw as a kid. I went to this daycare thing when I was a kid where they played Pee-wee's Big Adventure every day, which I was fine with. It's still one of the best movies of all time. But I had to turn my head away from Large Marge every time. And then watching it as an adult, like I went through frame by frame as an adult, and I'm like, yeah, this is like silly. It's only scary because I was a kid. But it is still fucked up. And the sound Large Marge makes plays a big part too. That shit was weird to do for a kid's movie.
The first time I saw Pee-wee's Big Adventure was in like the last day of like grade 5. One of the kids in my class was a huge Pee-wee guy. And it's funny because he was like a jock kid, even in grade 5, like he did track, he did, baseball and all that stuff. But he always tried to do Pee Wee Herman's voice, and it was very poorly done. And he somehow pressed and got the end of year movie to be Pee Wee's Big Adventure. So that's what the teacher, Mrs. Walton, I can't believe I remember that. She brought that in. She rented it and brought it in for us, and we watched that. And everyone else was all freaking out about Large Marge, and I was kind of like, eh.
It is, dude, the whole setup to it. I don't know. It just was a night just like this. Anyway, obviously that's a different movie. I don't think Killer Clowns has anything scary in it. It's silly and ridiculous, if I remember right. But basically, I did a little quick research about this movie, and there really isn't a ton to say. It is the Kyoto Brothers' only movie that they produced and directed. And I even read that they didn't necessarily do a ton of the effects themselves because they were so busy doing other stuff, but obviously they oversaw everything. And this sticks with our watching cheap movies because this one was a little over $1 million or something. And it is nice with these older movies. There is a lot more information. You can really get into the weeds. Like apparently the most expensive single thing in this movie, I don't remember this, but there's like a gun that fires popcorn and it costs $7,000 to make. So everything else was cheaper than that. Oh, and I guess they rented cars in the movie so they weren't allowed to wreck them. But there's apparently a part where a car drives off a bridge and that wasn't supposed to happen. So they had to pay for that car.
Awesome.
So that's funny. And besides that, it's just been in, sequel development hell ever since. They're always trying to make another one. They keep getting announced. They never get made, whatever. But yeah, I just remember this movie fondly, but I guess we'll see. Hopefully I was right.
I don't think a sequel for something that was made in like mid to late 80s, I don't think a sequel would be great, to be honest, regardless of whether this movie is good or bad. Because at this point, like, it's not going to match up. Like, whoever does it, it's just going to be too polished, too, I guess, snappy, for a lack of a better term, than the original was. So, to me, it would just end up being a fail.
Yeah, I'm definitely not excited at the prospect of a sequel. Like, oh, I sure hope they make another one. Because, yeah, if they didn't do practical effects, it would immediately be a disaster. But even if you did, it can't be 1988 again. You know, it's just never going to be the same.
Yeah, it's not like Friday the 13th where they have like a dozen movies in the series or Nightmare on Elm Street or something like that. People want more of those, and sequels have sort of, again, been in development hell for a long time. But at least you know whatever came out would sort of fit with what everything else did. Whereas something like Killer Clowns from Outer Space just wouldn't do so well.
I just poured water all over my own dick. Just trying to take a little sip of water, just poured water all over the place. Thank you, sir. We'll leave all this in just to show that I can't even raise a bottle to my goddamn mouth.
You can't be trusted.
So, what made me think of this movie, though, why I decided to toss it into our the bigger reason why I wanted to toss it in and put it between Terrifier 2 and 3 is this. I forgot to bring this up when we were talking about Terrifier 2, but this is such a trope in horror movies that happens so much. Is the something crazy is happening, but nobody believes that it's happening. And I was thinking that a lot with Terrifier 2. Like, that mom really was such a bitch where it's like, okay, maybe you're not going to believe that, the drawings from your dead husband's sketchbook are involved in mystical evil. Like, all right, I get that maybe that's too far. But she just didn't trust her own kid at all. She didn't even trust that something, she gave the kid no benefit of the doubt. She's 100% ready to believe that he just brought a dead animal into school.
It always seems like a thing in horror movies especially, but most movies where the kid comes in yelling, crying wolf about something, and the parents are like, "Oh, Timmy, you're a fucking liar, you cocksucker."
It's one of those things, like, there's no good answer to it, because of course you're not just going to believe in the crazy shit, with the one exception. And I did love this. Is one of the things that made me love the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show is Seth Green's character Oz, where they first tell him about vampires, and instead of not believing it, he just goes, "Oh yeah, no, that actually explains a lot." And I was like, it's so refreshing that somebody just believes you when you say the crazy shit. But anyway, how this ties into Killer Clowns is that even though I don't remember much about this movie, every time I think about that trope for the last 20 years about people not believing, for whatever reason, I always think of Killer Clowns. And it's like, yeah, of course nobody believed there were killer clowns from outer space. Why would you believe that? But it just would have made everything go so much better if they just would have believed that. They don't.
I think that's the way it always goes, though. Like, if the parents believed right away and they nipped it in the bud somehow, movie be over in 20 minutes. Like, it would be done. So not believing seems like the obvious plot point that would make the movie able to continue forward instead of getting stopped by, some good cop or something like that.
So yeah, that's the thing, is that it is obviously just a trope, and I don't actually have any solution to it or even any problem with it. It's just a tiny little thing I forgot to mention when we reviewed Terrifier 2, and that led us to watch a whole other movie. So here we are. And I guess the only other thing I want to say about this movie is I am impressed at the restraint of the Insane Clown Posse, how long it took them to put a sample from this movie in one of their songs. Because it wasn't until the sixth Joker's card, which was like their 10th album, they finally put a little clip from this movie of just the police chief guy just going like, "Yeah, killer clowns, yeah, sure, lady, whatever." So when that happens in the movie, I'm going to be like, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah, I'm a big fan, actually, of horror movie samples in music. So, like, White Zombie, the funny thing about White Zombie was, they had 3 or 4 albums before their first, I guess, big album, which was La Sexorcisto Devil Music Volume 1. And Rob was like, "Awesome, we're getting to make an album with fucking Geffen," or so, I think it was Geffen. And he used a shit ton of horror movie samples in it. And then the album was made, and then the bill came for using all those samples. He's like, fuck.
Yeah, that is brutal. I remember when we were watching, I think it was the first Pinhead,
Hellraiser?
Hellraiser, yeah, when he said "come to daddy," because there's that Aphex Twin song where the only lyric is "come to daddy." Just like, oh, that, I think it's called "Come to Daddy," and it blew my fucking mind. I'm like, that's from this movie. So join us on this magical journey to Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Hopefully it holds up, and even if it doesn't, who cares? It's like a short movie. It's from the 80s. It's gonna be cool just to watch the practical effects, if nothing else. How wrong could this go?
It could go wrong.
Yeah, famous last words.
Get in there! Let's going on, Kurt?
Same old shit. I got him boozing it up in the park.
We were just walking through the park on the way to the dorm. We had a bottle of wine.
Yeah, it's a beautiful night. We were walking around. We didn't do nothing.
You guys go to the college, right?
Yeah, right.
So why don't you just stay there and do your drinking on campus? Why do you have to come into town?
Well, I mean, we live in this town, too. I mean, we don't have to just stay on campus.
Yeah. And it's scum like you that are killing this town.
Oh, Kurt, come on, Kurt, now, just take it easy. They're just
What's
college
the matter,
kids.
Dave? You got a thing for these little boys? Empty your pockets!
We just had a little wine. What's the problem?
You're the problem, you little shit!
Just lighten up, Mooney. Just lighten up.
Back off, Dave. Open container, public intoxication, littering, disturbing the peace, resisting arrest. These kids are history.
So overall, I'd say that held up. That's about as good as I remembered it being.
It's better than I remember it being for sure because, like, again, I never finished it all the way through.
And I mean, we were just saying at the end here, it's ridiculous that everybody lived, but I couldn't find the details. But I did read somewhere that I think originally fewer people survived, but they changed it for a happier ending because, yeah, the cop and the two brothers, they're obviously dead. There's no fucking way they survived the explosion of the whole clown UFO.
Yeah, honestly, that kind of pissed me off a bit because the continuity is just out of place completely. And they were the three survivors, but luckily the clowns got all those other victims that they had cocooned up in their thing in cotton candy.
Yeah, they basically got the whole rest of the town. I was thinking too, like he even says, like with the brothers that are alive at the end, like, but I saw you blow up in the ice cream truck, and they're like, we hid in the freezer. That reminds me of that fourth Indiana Jones movie, how angry everybody was about nuking the fridge, you know, that he hides in the fridge to survive the nuke. But this is the original hiding in the fridge. They should reference fucking Killer Klowns.
Yeah, I mean, that bit was pretty weak, but honestly, overall, I'm very surprised at how much I enjoyed this upon a rewatch.
Yeah, like, I think it's the best possible version of this movie. Because, like, it's very fucking dumb, but I kind of think that's a good way to go with it. Like, I even kind of like that it almost works. Like, that idea that aliens just look like clowns and that we based our clowns on aliens. Like, that's not even the worst idea, and you could have done the version that was like that. But where I knew they were just like kind of not giving a fuck was as soon as the balloon animal dog came out and it's sniffing and stuff. And I'm like, all right, that's just really dumb. Because you can almost follow it. Like, they've got the little popcorn kernels that are like the seeds of their young that grow into new clowns. And they're turning people into cotton candy and then going and scooping them up. And then they're sucking their life juice out with twisty straws. Like, and they maybe they put the chick in a balloon instead of cotton candy because she was going to be a fucking queen or something like aliens. Like, it almost makes sense, but then there's just a million parts that don't make any fucking sense.
I mean, we made fun of the main character, like the main guy. We made fun of Mike throughout this movie, basically saying, like, you know, that he definitely didn't want to be with the lead girl. He was more interested in being with Dave the cop.
Yeah, there's definite... I mean, I think it's clear. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't intended, but that's how the movie turned out. That's definitely how it is.
John Vernon,
Yeah.
who's been in a bunch of stuff like Savage Streets, Dirty Harry, things of that nature. He was so fucking good in this movie, man.
He's the best. He was my favorite guy in the movie for sure. Officer Mooney of just like, you fucking kids. Oh yeah, so going back to what I was saying at the start. Yeah, I can see why this movie stuck in my mind as the movie where you don't believe in the thing that's happening. But I think it's appropriate in this movie, seeing it again. Like, you'd have to be fucking nuts to believe in this shit. So I do like how, even with him, with the crusty old fucking Officer Mooney who won't believe anybody, but he even has, like, a good explanation for what's happening. Of, like, these kids are just fucking with me. They're just pulling a prank to try to kick me off the force, because if I take this seriously, it'll ruin my career, you know? Like, he had a really good reason to not believe this goddamn nonsense.
I mean, maybe at first he did, but then, you know, as you know, when the lines are flooded with people trying to call in, and he's still like, "Oh, fuck you guys."
I made it through Korea. I can make it through this. But yeah, I think what's funny too with this is like how they really did go with every single possible circus trope, even though it really didn't make any sense. But, you know, with not only the balloon animals, but then the Punch and Judy show and then the fucking shadow puppetry and just whatever. But even that shit was cool. Like I liked that at the end when their UFO blew up, it was fireworks. And it's like, that's so perfect. That's just like the right thing.
Yeah, I really like this a lot. Like I have a copy I bought physically. We didn't watch that copy. We watched the version that I bought on iTunes, which I mean, it's no different. It's just not on disc. But I liked it a lot. Like it's sat on my shelf for years, and I haven't pulled it out. So I'm glad that we actually did this one.
Yeah, because it's right on that line of like, it's like, I guess you could say it's not a good movie, but it is a good movie. It's like a good version of like, it's just so, I guess that's the part that I'm surprised about is what makes you want to make this movie in the first place? Why do you just decide, like, we're going to make the Killer Clown movie and we're going to do so much dopey shit? But then once they decided to do that, they did like the best job you could do with $1 million in 1980 fucking seven or whatever to make this movie. Like, I can't imagine how you could do a better job than this.
Now, I said earlier that I didn't think a sequel would be warranted, and I kind of stand by that. But Killer Clowns has made a big resurgence over the last couple of years, where there's like a lot of merchandise you can buy, like replicas of the weapons. There's a lot of action figures that are out now. NECA, they make crazy, well, I mean, like my Ninja Turtle toys here, Friday the 13th. Like, they get all this horror licensing and everything, and you can buy replicas of the masks, the whole nine yards. Just, it's crazy. Like, you went from totally forgetting that Killer Clowns was even a thing to there all of a sudden being like a lot of merchandise that you can order or buy, from like Trick or Treat Studios or NECA or companies like this.
And the clowns really are. They're probably the best designed part. Because even like at the end when they're on the ship, there's a lot of just cardboard sets and like black backgrounds. And like it was kind of cool, but it did kind of look a little cheap. Where the clowns themselves were like really good costumes. And they kind of fall into that same place that Terrifier did of these things are weird and fucked up and gross, but not enough that you immediately freak out. When people saw them around town, it's kind of believable that they'd be like, all right, that's a particularly fucked up looking clown, but I'll hang out for a bit. I'll see what he's up to. Oh shit, I'm dead.
I mean, the movie didn't have a lot of the mainstay stuff that you would expect from a horror movie back in the late 80s. Like, this came from 1988. Like, you didn't have a whole bunch of gratuitous nudity. There wasn't really any blood to be seen. Stuff like that, but still managed to be, I don't know, like still a horror movie somehow. Like I don't know how it did it, but it managed it.
Yeah, pretty much the only kind of bloody part was when poor Officer Mooney was being puppeted like a fucking ventriloquist dummy, and the clown pulls that arm out, and it's kind of got gore on it. But that was like about it. I was kind of thinking too as I watched this, like when I watched it, I wasn't especially young. I was already probably a teenager or something. But if I saw this as a little kid, I'm really not sure if it would be scary or not. Like maybe it's right on that line. Like it's almost scary if you're a dumb little kid, but probably I would have been okay with it. I don't know.
So I grew up in like you remember, I grew up in like a poor person's sort of housing project. And every Wednesday when we would have half days at school, the local community center would rent a movie for all of us kids to watch. And this would have been a perfect movie to kind of show us all, because we didn't rent like all funny stuff or cartoons or anything like that. But like we would rent like Goonies and shit like that. But this would have fit right in. It's just tame enough that it's digestible for someone under the age of like even 10, I think. But it's also grown up enough that it's going to make the kids want to come in and watch it. So I'm really surprised this one wasn't on the radar back in like 1988, 1989 when it hit VHS.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Despite all the crazy shit that happens to people in this movie, I do feel like Large Marge is still scarier than anything that happens in this movie. But I think part of it could just be context, too. Like, you're watching this movie, it's about a clown invasion and it's about people getting fucked up by the clowns. Where I guess, like, Large Marge was so fucked up because it didn't have any reason to be in that movie. It did not belong. It was like this horrifying thing right in the middle.
It could also be a residual memory that you have because, I mean, you watched this movie when you were a young child, and the Large Marge bit was definitely, out of place in that movie, and definitely, I guess I'm going to use air quotes, scary, but I didn't have the same relationship to it as you do. And so maybe it's like you're sort of, I guess, holding on to that memory of that character being scary, and that's what still makes it more shocking to you.
And I guess it could also just be the type of scare. Like, it's definitely a jump scare where there's no jump scares in Killer Clowns. In that sense, this movie is very, real smooth. Nice, easy watch. Nothing too shocking happens.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything was really great. The colors were nice and vibrant. The clown makeup slash costumes were all really well done. Some of the weaponry and like the cotton candy stuff, like that sort of read as goofy to me, but it was purposeful, and I enjoyed watching it for sure.
Yeah, you really got the feeling that, like, obviously, again, it's like a relatively low budget 80s movie about a really dumb topic, but they really did try. You could just feel that they didn't want to. I'm sure they did cut corners because they had to, but they didn't want to. These guys wanted to make the best version of this movie they could. And yeah, I mean, man, I'll give them thumbs up. Not bad.
I guess I have to give this a pass. Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely a pass instead of a fail.
Yeah, like it's one of those things like if somebody told me they thought this movie was dumb, I would not argue with them. It's like, yeah, well, yeah, it is. It's fucking real dumb. But as long as you're in for that ride, it's like a real good version of a real dumb movie.
But there's a lot of dumb stuff that still reads as awesome, like just because something's dumb or goofy or whatever doesn't mean that it's not entertaining. And I was entertained by this.
So, who was Tracy? What character was that? I don't even know. But that wasn't the main chick, right? No, her name
No,
was
I think
Debbie.
I think Stacy and Tracy were
Oh,
the two big girls that were in the ice cream truck.
right. The classic '80s, yeah, joke that you can't make anymore. Just like the idiots in the ice cream truck dating the large girls. But anyway, I just wanted to mention it because we just got it paused on a credit screen here. Chick's name is Carla Sue Krull, like the movie Krull with fucking Liam Neeson in it. Like that's just a cool fucking name. It's not as cool as like the chick whose real name was Voorhees in Friday the 13th, but still pretty cool.
Yeah. What do you think? You obviously also give it a pass, I presume.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of those movies like I could easily go the rest of my life and probably never watch it again, but I'd be happy to watch it again. Like if it ever came up and somebody was like, "Oh, I've never seen this." I would happily watch it again, but at the same time, I feel like this is fine. I'm glad I watched it again, but I'm not going to like recommend it to people like, "Oh, you got to watch this." But if you do decide to watch it, I mean, I think you're just going to have a good time.
Yeah, I think so too.
Hey, just jumping in at the end with some good news. So we regained access to our Instagram account. So please follow us on Instagram. It is prison_wallets_pod. And stay tuned next episode for Terrifier 3. All right, see you later. Prison_wallets_pod.